Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about encouraging your mentee to set goals. It is an important part of the mentoring relationship. In fact, this is something that you should do for yourself, and I hope that this framework will help you to do so. So let's talk about your mentee though, because goal setting isn't necessarily straightforward for them. In MedWork, we're going to use the SMART goals framework, and SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. It's an excellent work for establishing goals. It's very established. It's ubiquitous in that people have heard of this framework in some shape or form. So just as a review, specific means that the goal should be, as the specific word says, specific. It should, even though there might be different levels of goals, different whether it's broad or narrow, it has a specificity to it that is tangible to the person who is trying to set the goals. The next would be measurable. So that specific goal needs to be measurable on some sort of metric, some sort of way to record whether that goal has been accomplished or not. The goal needs to be attainable. And while some goals might be really broad, it needs to be something that your mentee can accomplish within a specific time frame. And I think that is the key, is within the specific time frame. The time frame, though, could be very short term. It could be in the next hour. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be next month. It could be next year, right? But as long as it is attainable, that is one of the keys. A goal typically is not attainable if it's not specific or measurable. So you can see how this sort of builds on up the line. But attainable could also refer to whether they have the resources and the time and the means to accomplish that goal. A goal needs to be relevant. So when we talk about relevant, that's a big word. Irrelevant could mean lots of different things, but it needs to be relevant specifically to the values and what your person wants, what your mentee, wants to accomplish in a specific time frame. I like to think of relevant as in relevant to them in a long-term basis. Okay, and then the last thing is it needs to be time-bound. We have alluded to that in the previous aspects of SMART goals, but a goal should have a timeline to accomplish it. An open timeline, that's sort of like a New Year's resolution. Technically New Year's resolutions should be accomplished within that year, but most New Year's resolutions fail because there's really no time-bound aspect to it, or the timeline is too short. When you speak to your mentees, they might not know what goals that they want to set. So you want to start with the conversation with a metacognitive exercise, asking your mentees how they envision themselves. And let's say, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in the future. Try to have them visualize who that person is and what they want to be. Then start asking them specific questions about their self-efficacy on how they're going to get to that point. I like to focus on characteristics of a person, not just skills that my mentees should learn. So, and then what you want to talk about is what does your mentee need to do on a day-to-day, a week-to-week, or a month-to-month, or even year-to-year basis in order to accomplish those goals. And I would do this for every goal that they have that helps them develop a characteristic, an attribute, a skill, because all of those things are measurable and attainable. I like to use the phrase, what would it look like to you to become someone amazing? When you challenge somebody to become something or someone, then it's easier to understand what things you need to do to reach that point. So it could be a skill like, I want to be able to read a radiograph. Okay, well, then what are all the aspects related to imaging or related to the software that you need to read a radiograph, or the time that it takes, or the training you need to be able to have in order to accomplish that? Or it could be, I want to become someone who is empathetic. Now, that seems really big, But at the same time, you can break that down into what are the qualities of someone who's empathetic, and how would I attain those qualities? What do I need to do? What do I need to read? What do I need to see or watch? Or what experiences do I need to have with other people? So those are how you can take those qualities of skills or qualities of attributes of a personality and make them into SMART goals. The other key is, once you've identified what you need to accomplish to reach that goal, work with your mentees to create a pathway whereby they can develop the self-efficacy on their own. In other words, help them become a lifelong learner on how to measure that as they go along, as they use the framework. But always bring them back to this framework, and help them also realize that sometimes goals change. That is perfectly normal. Sometimes goals aren't attained. That is perfectly normal. And hopefully, a lot of times, goals are realized.